you know that it will be suicidal for anybody to say that today he's going to close social media platforms simply because it's going to generate crisis in the country. What I think should be done now is to begin to make the youth understand that they have more stake in this country than any one of us here, in the sense that they cannot help to cumulatively come together and destroy themselves by themselves. They should have a country that they can rely upon in future, a country that they think they can turn it into their country of wish, and I think this should be the focus of every youth in this country. When we made that attempt, they came forcefully to say that they don't need it. I'm absolutely sure those of them who have lost their parents, who have lost their properties as a result of misuse of social media, have now started to realize that it was in order to save their future that we intended to do what we wanted to do at that time. Today, let me tell you, this NSAS riot that happened, a lot of people lost their properties innocently. Some of them will never get back to where they are. You cannot build your future by destroying what you have. You build your future by adding to what you have, as a child. That's why every country today will sit down and shake its head and say, this is our GDP. GDP comes around because of production, not because of destroying properties around the country.
Now, that bill has resurfaced in the Ninth Assembly. A colleague of yours, Senator Sani Musa, has brought that up again. What do you think is important and urgent that should be done from what we saw and what you're describing that has happened in the past days?
Okay, Sean, if you remember, my bill that I first introduced in the Senate went for public hearing. The Chief Justice of Nigeria appeared in the public hearing and said that none of the provisions of that bill has contradicted any of the provisions of the Constitution. I have carefully looked at the one that has been introduced in the Senate, and I'm not so sure it will pass the same test that the other one that we propose in the Senate will pass. Therefore, you run away from what will not have touched your fundamental rights in the Constitution to go now into what, if allowed to go, can definitely affect your fundamental human rights. It doesn't make sense to me. You see, no matter how unfair you want to be to me, I have some level of understanding of the laws of this country as a lawyer. I might not be that very good, but at least, no matter how unfair you want to be to me, you must accept the fact that I have some reasonable understanding of what our laws are all about. As far as I'm concerned, where we are today, it has more to do with preaching to the youths, preaching to mischief makers, preaching to all those who do not wish this country good, to understand the fact that they do not have any other country other than this country. And therefore, it's the responsibility of each and everyone in that group to ensure the survival of Nigeria, to ensure peaceful coexistence, to ensure law, order, and security in the country. And you cannot do that by posting fake information that will incite people into violence, that will incite people into hatred, that will incite people into along the lines of division. To me, that is not the way to grow a country. And I'm telling you, and I stand here, and I will give you the same assurance I gave you when I gave you the last interview in the Senate, that unless the government takes this issue seriously, we may, I am not a prophet of doom, we may not have a country that is governable, under our laws. We have to be extremely careful. Leaders must have the courage to tell their followers the hard truth, the brutal one, and must have courage to show that they are leaders and enforce those things that they believe will be in the overall interest of majority of Nigerians. This is what leadership demands.